In this video, we're looking at the Unit 2, number 11. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of a chord of a circle, given that the endpoints of the chord are -2, 0, and 4, -4. In this question, we need to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of a chord of a circle, given that the endpoints are C, -2, 0, and D, 4, -4. So the first thing I did was graph it so I can actually get a good picture in my mind of what's happening. The next thing I need to do is I need to sort of figure out what all of this stuff is saying. So I'm going to figure out what perpendicular is and bisector is and what that means in terms of our picture. So eventually we should be able to figure out what perpendicular bisector is and then find it. So perpendicular means that I want a line that's going to come through here and meet this line at a right angle. That's what perpendicular means. Bisector means I want a line that's going to cut this line in half, so right in half. This segment will be equal to this segment. So thinking about perpendicular and the things that we've learned, we can determine the slope of this line, and if we determine the slope of this line, then the perpendicular slope will be the negative reciprocal. So I'll have to find the negative reciprocal. I have to find this slope and then find the negative reciprocal. Second part of this question is about the bisector, which cuts it in half. If I want to cut this in half, that means I need to find the halfway point. We'll call that the midpoint. So once we have the midpoint and we have the slope of the new line, we can find the new equation of the line. So we're going to use C and D to find the slope of CD. So the slope of C and D connected, using the formula, I end up with a slope of -2/3. To get the perpendicular, we need to invert this or flip it and make it negative, the opposite sign. So it's negative right now, so it'll be positive. So we'll need the new perpendicular slope. So the slope of the new line will be 3/2. We found the slope, and now we're going to find the midpoint of CD, because once we have that, we'll have a point and a slope to find the equation of the new line. So we found the midpoint using this formula, and the midpoint happens to be 1, -2. If I go over in my picture over here, 1 and -2 does make sense to be the midpoint. So now I have this new slope for the line that's going to go this way, and then I have the midpoint that it has to go through. So it has to go through this point. So I have the slope and the point, I can draw the line. Okay, so I use the new slope and the midpoint to put into the equation y = mx + b. Put in the slope first, 3/2. And now I'm going to put in the x and y specifically from the midpoint because they're on that line. So I need to use those. So I put the 1 in for x and the -2 in for y. So -2 = 3/2 1 plus b. Rearranging, I get b = -3/2. Therefore, the new equation is y = 3/2 x - 3.5.